All right, guys, we're back at it again. And today's Thursday. My name is Jader Salazar. This is Black Label Closers, and we have a live event every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a free course. You can sign up. You can go to school.com and sign up for our community, right? So that's what we have. We're going to have a lot more activity in there just to make sure you guys can share thoughts and we can share strategies and answer some of the questions there. All right, so let's get ready to rock and roll and start this today. So we're going to talk about four things that will give you a little bit more of a perspective, especially if you're new to the business, especially if you're new to high ticket sales. And the first thing we're going to be talking about is how to nail a high ticket interview, how to get a high ticket interview. We're going to talk about the intricacies of being able to display a good amount of confidence and get those opportunities that are out there. And this is clearly you're gonna one of the things that you're gonna find in this industry is the amounts of commissions that you can make are very impressive. There are people making $400,000 or $500,000 in this industry. Obviously, those jobs are going to come. They're not going to, come every day. They're not, in abundance. But typically, you can make a good, solid 150 to $200,000 a year if you play it right. Even $300,000. Not very uncommon to come across those types of opportunities. Great. So, how to nail a high ticket interview? That's the first one. Then we're going to talk about how to build trust and rapport. Right? I've gone through this before, but I think I'm going to be a little more detailed on what kind of things, uh, what's your behavior like, and how you're going to reflect those uh, how are you going to inflict the right amount of confidence in the prospect so that you can uh, bring the right information to the table. Remember, customers withhold information, and you have to build that rapport, get that respect from them, so that you can so that you can get a really good conversation every time you're on the phone. Okay. The next, we're going to talk about confidence, right? Uh, be the most confident when you're the most desperate. This is one of the biggest issues with this is a very psychological game, and you have to be apt um, when getting on the phone or getting in front of a customer. However it is that you're doing it, either on video or you're doing it on the phone, whatever it is that you're utilizing as a tool and means of communication. And last but not least, fake decision makers. Remember, at this in this first process, we're we're finding out what's the best strategies for you to become a seller. It is interesting because when you graduate as a setter and you understand comprehensively what your job is, it's almost like you're ready to be a closer. All right. Now, remember, I do not train people to set appointments. I train people on how to set deals. They're two different things, right? I always talk about that, and I want to make sure that you guys understand the complexity of and the difference of the two, right? Setting up appointments. So let me just close my office door, and I'll be right back. All right, we're back. Good. So, a lot of the companies, what they do is, and it's a very common trend now, is they're interviewing groups of people, 6, 10 at a time. They just want to have a quick conversation with you. Those bits or small intervals of time that you get to be able to explain who you are, introduce yourself, are exceptionally important, right? Because that's you have probably less than a minute, maybe 2 minutes at the most, to be able to explain something. Because obviously, the interviewer has to move through the group to be able to get to everybody in time, right? So we're going to be able to maximize. We're going to learn how to maximize the opportunity when we have that chance to speak. So the first thing, typically in these conversations, especially if this is a remote job, a remote opportunity, one of the things that you have to do is you have to have a good setting in your house, right? If you're going to be on video, don't place the camera at the end of the wall where you can see everybody walking behind you and doing, mom or your wife or the kids running around because they're going to notice that you don't have a professional place to be. Don't do it out of the bathroom, right? That's a bad situation. If you can set yourself, you want to do this remotely, you want to set yourself a professional spot in the house, right? It doesn't have to be an entire room, but it has to be a place that can be quiet, a place that can have a professional backdrop in the back, right? Something that looks professional, something like this. You don't have to have this, but at least something that looks that you're in an office, right? If you have books, displayed in the back, even better, right? Image is everything. How you behave yourself, um, how do you engage the conversation depends on how professional you look. Also, let's just pull this up here. Sorry, guys. Man, Uh, the back of my computer is showing, so I want to make sure. All right, that's better. Uh, your apparel, right? The way you're dressed, right? Make sure you don't have to wear a tie, but please, I would strongly advise not to have a cap on, right? In a hoodie, right? A lot of people think, nowadays we're all relaxed and everybody's, especially if the offer that you're about to enter is an offer that requires for you to be on the phone, then you need to make sure that you are going to be you're going to play the part right, right? That you're going to be able to show these people I got not just the professional spot, but I also behave accordingly, right? Have a collared shirt, right? And that's it, right? What happens below the waist if you're on an interview, even if they can't see it? Remember, I don't know if you've seen all the videos that I've done in the past, and I always talk about dress for success, right? And nowadays, we don't need to have a necktie, but it is important that you feel the part, right? Put some slacks on, right? Even jeans, but don't have like shorts or feel a little professional. Feel like you're there for the interview, right? To that you won the job, right? Number three, have concise answers. Don't go all over the place with what you're saying. Have control of the answers, of the words that are coming out, the thoughts that are coming out. And this is probably one of the most important, but also difficult things if you're new to the game. Uh, how do I control myself? That's going to take, Well, think about this. If you cannot have confidence in the interview, during the interview, what makes you think you're going to be able to have confidence when you're in front of the customer, right? Those two things go hand in hand. And this is the reason why you have to role play, you have to understand your craft, understand um, what the company's all about, research the company, right? Because here's what I'm going to ask you to do as well as number four. Not don't just let the and this is probably if you're in a group session where you're being interviewed with other people, you're probably not going to have a lot of chance or a lot of chances to be able to ask questions, right? You'll probably be given a chance to ask a couple of questions, very short questions. One of my first questions, if I can only ask one or two questions, I will definitely ask, how much are you guys paying? That would be a question that I need to ask. You're there for the money. You're there to find out if this is, if this is a place where, what kind of money they're paying you, right? Because if they're not paying you proportionally well to the industry, then you're probably not going to be willing to work for this company. Remember, you're choosing. You have the right to choose as well. It's not just the interviewer who's making a judgment call. You have the right, especially if you have the skill and especially if you have the confidence, you're going to be able to also um, get information back, ask qualifying questions. Now, the second question I would definitely ask, and this is going to put the interviewer on a very very it's going to make the interviewer understand that you have value, right? That you're not just going to work for some, you know, uh, company that is ripping off people. There are a lot of companies out there, and this is one of the things that I wanted to talk to you guys about too. Is you got to be careful who you associate your name with. All right, the power you're about to attain through the power of sales, through the skill of sales, is so huge that you can be ripping people off on behalf of somebody else. You got to be careful with that. So, one of the questions I would ask, if I only have two questions in a group session, is what makes you ethical? Why are you ethical? All right. And another question, and this is going to be something that you will sort out which one of the questions you're going to ask or prioritize to ask is, do you guys pay on time and do you guys pay every time? I want to know that when I work for a company that I'm not going to be played around with, right? That I get my money on the day they tell me I'm going to get paid, and I'm going to get it every time, right? I want to make sure that no one plays with my paycheck, right? Um, Sometimes it just happens that you know that's why it's so important to research the company, right? It is important that you understand who you're working for and why are these people, why do they deserve to have you there, especially if you have all the tools. When you have, if you pass that interview and you have that one-on-one, you are going to yield the floor, obviously, to the interviewer. Probably it'll be someone else, maybe the name brand, maybe the CEO of the company, right? Um, but you're going to have the chance to be able to talk to that person. At this point, I want you to understand that also you're going to ask him for 5 minutes so you can ask qualifying questions, right? I would go a little bit more in depth as far as who they are, the ethical behavior, fulfillment. If they're Everything has fulfillment, right? Especially In high ticket, you're selling an intangible product. So you want to make sure more likely you're going to be selling coaching programs, some sort of program that will help people attain the knowledge in becoming an investor, perhaps becoming a coach, whatever it is that you're selling, right? Find out how much they feel responsible to fulfill, and if they had any incidents in the past. I don't have any problem asking that. If you're working for a good company, or you're considering a good company, I'm sure they will appreciate that you're bringing ethics to the surface. That's going to be very important. So keep in mind. I hope you wrote that down, because that's going to be extremely important for you guys to be able to nail a job that you feel the philosophies align, and you can be there for a good amount of years, possibly, if that's what you want. And you know, I know, so, companies that work for companies for over 4 years, and it's always good to have that long possibility to work with the same people. You know them, you understand the product, and you don't have to be hopping, from company to company. Great. Let's move on to the next item at hand that I have for you guys tonight. How to build trust and rapport when you call. People do not trust you unless you show genuine, um, you're genuine. You have to be genuine. If you're answering questions or rebuttaling, if you're doing rebuttals to objections, just because you learn the right rebuttal to certain objections, it's going to sound mechanical, right? Don't sound mechanical. Listen to the person's objection, first of all. But before you get to objections, you have to build yourself up, right? Again, confidence is everything. Um, when you have a rhythm in your speech, right, you're going to have a sequence of the words and terms that you're using that correlate to whatever part of that conversation, um, in that part of the conversation, right? Make sure that you don't hesitate too much, that you don't make sure that you don't end a lot of the statements that you make in questions. Sometimes it's necessary to inflict a question mark, or place a question mark in a statement, just because the culture demands for that one section or that one phrase to be displayed like that. But you want to make sure that you don't do it too much, because if you do, then you're gonna infer into insecurity, or a perspective of insecurity, and the customer is going to lose faith in you. Once the customer or the prospect loses faith in you, it is extremely hard to recover. You're not going to be able to have a lot of options or times or opportunities to be able to recover. All right. So you need to make sure that anything you do with confidence. Speech has tempo, right? You have to get that rhythm, right? And you have to get, um, don't make up words, right? If you don't know a word, don't say it, right? Stay away from trouble. Just because you hear someone sophisticated on the phone and they throw a lot of expensive words, don't try to do the same thing if you're not up to the task, because you're going to sound ignorant, and you're going to sound like you can't, like this is not the person that can have the moral authority for me to qualify for their help, right? And remember, um, you're the first impression they're going to have of the company, because you're the first contact they have with that company. So how you represent that company is going to be paramount to everything that's going to happen subsequently, after that person talks to you and everybody else during the process. Stay away from sensitive topics, guys. This is extremely important. Don't talk about politics. If the person starts talking about politics, stay away from that, right? Here's the problem. So, topics that you should never address in a business on a business call. Politics, uh, global warming, too political, almost the same, right? Conspiracy theories, don't do it, right? What's the other one? Sports. Okay. Don't. I know a lot of guys, love sports and they want to get a buddy on the phone and talk about, whoever played last night and they should have done this and they should have put this player in. You're not there to solve a sports team problem. That's not what you're there for. You're not there to fix the president's decision on how to deal with any foreign country or immigration or any of that. Stay away from that stuff because here's the problem: in any of those topics, if the person aligns with you, then you guys found each other, and now you're going to spend a lot of time. And the customer, he found a buddy, and he's going to want to spend a lot of time with you, talking about the things that you guys agree on. Maybe little issues here and there that you guys don't agree, and you start talking, and then it's a total waste of time. And now you become the person's friend, which is not something that having rapport doesn't mean becoming somebody's friend. It's the least of what you should expect is to become somebody's friend. I think about this. If you go to Harvard University, right? You want to get, you want to go there. They're going to give you like 2 or 3 interviews, whatever, whatever process they have, right? The people that will interview you, they could be kind. They're probably very friendly, but they're not going to be your friend, right? And they're going to stay on course because they're professional. I mean, we're talking about Harvard, right? So feel like you have to be professional, stay on course, don't deviate towards different places that you don't need to go, right? Stay on course, right? Um, Here's the other problem. If you touch on any of those issues, right, whether it's politics or or global warming or sports or religion, that's another one. That's a big one, right? If if the person does not agree, if the prospect does not agree with you, now it is going to be really impossible to recover because you don't share the philosophy, right? Find commonality in the philosophical process in business to be able to get you there. Those are the things that you need to stay away if you really want to make sure that you create that respect, that control. Do not be goofy. I can't say this enough. Don't be goofy on the phone. Have that presence of professionalism that's required to be on the phone. That doesn't mean that you're not going to crack a joke here and there. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is all you have to do is always be professional. If you say something funny or the person says something funny, please respond. Be reflective on on kindness, right? Be kind to the person. If I say something funny and you keep it professional and you don't laugh, I'm not gonna think that you're a nice guy, that you're kind, that you're really there for me to pay attention, right? Uh, Also, in terms of helping the customer understand something, it is essential during the call to call him out on something, right? To not You got to be really tactful to be able to do this, and this is the reason why role playing is so important. Is because we need to train people on how to do these things so that when you are in the real world, that you don't make mistakes that are crucial and then you're going to have problems down the line where you're going to be reprehended by your supervisor or manager because you're getting out of line, right? So you got to be careful with that. So create rapport, but create a rapport. The only people that I trust are the people that have my respect, right? And how do you have my respect? You respect me, but also you show me reasons why I should respect you. Right? It is important to understand this. Rapport is extremely important because without rapport, you cannot posture. Posture without rapport is just being rude, right? And rapport without in posture, I'm sorry, rapport without posture is just being a friend, right? And so you don't want to go to either extreme, to either one extreme. You want to stay the course, you want to stay balanced so that your rapport can transpire and posture can transpire throughout the entire call. That's extremely important for you guys to understand. All right. Um, Compliments. How do you feel with compliments when you're creating a rapport? One quick compliment is, and don't make up compliments. I'm just going to give you an example of how I compliment someone and I get him right on my side. Is, for instance, if I hear a guy that's articulate, right? Um, who's very precise in the way they speak. I say something like, "Hey, you remind me of this guy who became an architect or a doctor and a very successful guy." Or I always compare them to someone or something that gives them that makes them feel good about the compliment. For instance, women, right? I get women that sound very young on the phone, and they happen to be 50. You know, you know what? I thought I was talking to someone who was 25. They love that stuff, right? Um, if I hear that a guy has a big personality, commanding personality, I let him know, hey man, you sound like you have a commanding personality. When I do that, um, at some point I'm gonna come back to them and confront them with their big personality versus humility to be able to learn, right? Because if you're setting a coaching program, for instance, you want people to be humble enough to learn, because that's another problem in coaching with coaching programs is a lot of these guys they pay 20, 15, $10,000, and they come in and all of a sudden they think, well, I paid $10,000, that's a lot of money, I'm going to call the shots. You have to warn them, you're not here to call the shots. You have a big personality. Seems like you're a commanding man, but inside the coaching program, you're going to be in the driver's seat. I'm sorry, in the passenger seat. So, and ask them the question, how do you feel about that? Is that something that you're okay with? And you're going to find that a lot of their ego is going to deflate automatically. They're going to give you no, I understand, uh, that I need to be humble and I know how to learn. When it's time to learn, I can put my learning hat on and make sure that I'm going to be there for the learning. After all, I'm sure I'm going to pay for this. So they give you a bunch of reasons why they're with you on that one. So very important that you guys understand that. Perfect. Let's go to the next one. Uh, this is one of the biggest ones for me. Um, uh, a lot of salespeople see sales is it's psychological. This is a very psychological job. It's probably one of the most demanding jobs in the world, to be honest with you, as far as keeping yourself sane and psychologically stable. The problem is we're not psychologically stable every day. Everybody, right? Doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're a doctor, if you're the president of the United States, or you're the king of England, or whatever it is. we can never, ever, always stay psychologically balanced. Sometimes we're going to be sad. Sometimes we're going to be a little bit ticked off. Sometimes different things happen in our lives that shake our core, right? So the next one is how to stay confident when being desperate, right? Especially for salespeople, that means we're not making sales for some reason. Everybody goes through a patch. Everybody has a patch where, dude, what's going on this week, right? What's going on with me this week? Why am I not being able to close people, right? Now, obviously, one of the things quickly that help you recover, which is not something that you guys should ever utilize, is well, the economy is flaky right now, or the international scene, political scene is it's going bunkers, or there's I mean, all that stuff that's outside your control should never be the reason why you excuse yourself from not making sales. Don't surrender power or control. When you say, uh, it's just that we don't have the right president in office. Well, all you're doing is putting your hands up and saying, I can't do this, right? So I'm just going to have to suck for the next 4 years or 2 years. That's, whatever it is left for whatever situation, or whatever time is left for whatever situation you think is going on. So focus on the things you can do. Control what you can do. Control the things you can control. Don't step outside your head or yourself and think that something else is responsible for you not being able to make sales. What happens is when you're desperate, you start throwing things, you start becoming salesy, you start that desperation is going to show on the phone. You're going to start displaying that desperation on the phone, and that desperation is not going to do anything for you, right? It's just going to burn your deals. You're going to start burning deals, and if you're a setter, you're going to start setting deals to a closer who's expecting quality sets from you, and then he's going to start finding out that they didn't have the money, or they didn't have the wife, the spouse, decision maker there, or the person, or you're starting to set up appointments with people that don't show up. There's nothing worse than having a fluke of 3, 4 appointments where people do not show up. You got to be careful with that, right? So one of the uh, one of the things that I do when I feel not the best as far as my confidence is either, and this is, I'm going to give you the two, the solution and the problem, right? So a problem that I have is I get distracted, right? So if I'm desperate or depressed for whatever reason, it's not that I get depressed very often, but if I'm depressed for whatever reason, or desperate for any reason, then what I do is I get distracted. I, walk out of the office. I might just go watch TV, play PlayStation. I'm an old guy, but I like, playing video games. I'm not a gamer, but I like indulging in playing video games. And then I get distracted, right? Well, that's probably not that's not going to solve my problem. But I tell you what's going to solve my problem. If I immediately understand that I'm running low on fuel, whatever it is, depression, desperation, anxiety, whatever it is, I stop my dials. I quit. Not I quit, I stop, right? And then what I do is I walk out of the office. I have a quick conversation with my wife, or maybe just to get myself off. the chain, right, of having to make calls, and then I drink water or I take a shower, a cold shower, right? That's gonna set my system up. Now I'm telling you what works for me, and I think it could work for a lot of people. I've trained more than 3,000 people. This is what I always tell them, and I always get people coming back and saying, you know what, that cold shower was excellent, right? It just resets. Do some breathing exercises, right? Now you're gonna go back down to you or sit back down to at your station, and you're gonna start making calls again, right? When you do that, automatically things. Let me just rephrase that. Things will not change automatically. It's not that your anxiety is just gonna go away. It'll dissipate a lot more, right, from where you were. By the time you come back, you're gonna feel a little more empowered and less stressed out. When you feel a little less stressed out, now it's time for you to have a conversation with you. Have a conversation with yourself for about a minute or two and say, listen, now it's time to fake my confidence, right? Just fake it a little bit. Get on the phone and say, I need to be confident about this and muscle that back in, right? Be powerful, guys. Not everything is going to be answered with strategy. In fact, I can give you a bunch of pointers for you guys to do, but a lot of this is going to consist of willpower, of being better than whatever depression or anxiety or desperation, whatever it is that's going on in your life. You're going to have to be better than that so that you can, because the prospect is going to feel whether you're depressed or anxious or you're rushing the call, whatever it is, they're going to feel it and they're not going to trust it. That's going to hurt your posture and it's going to hurt your report as well. All right. So please make sure that whatever you do, you stay the course. And confidence is everything, right? If you're not displaying confidence, you're going to have a lot of problems with your. The more you practice that, the more you're going to be. Like I'll give you an example, a very clear example. I'm doing these lives for the first time, right? And sometimes I get a little bit nervous to get in front of the camera, right? Sometimes, uh, I'm, but I have to gain that willpower, and I have people that will depend on what I say and how I say things. So make sure that you do the same because everybody's going to be depending on you. I mean, think about it. If you're a setter, your closer is going to be depending on your sets, but also the people that paid for the leads that you're calling depend on you having the best attitude and behavior towards those leads and be responsible every time you get on a call, right? Your family is going to be counting on you, right? Um, the bills you pay, everybody, if you pay mortgage or you pay rent, those people are depending on you doing a good job so you can make money, so you can pay for those bills, right? If you're a closer, your seller is going to be depending on you if he's setting good deals for you to be on top of your game so that you can close those deals, right? Same thing, your family, the owner of the company, all the needs that are given to you guys, all the expectation, who you're paying bills with, too. I mean, all those things count. So you cannot just, this world is not to cut slacks in any corner. You have to be on top of everything that's going on. Never give up. And if you're about to give up, you need to retake that power so that you can feel confident. And being in sales is an incredible. I mean, think about this. Salespeople are probably, I'd say not probably, but definitely the most important field of business in the world. Because if you're not selling, if salespeople stop selling in the world, you're not going to have more jobs. No more jobs for anybody. Receptionists, doctors, architects, truck drivers, garbage people, whatever it is. If you're not selling, and Henry Ford said it, nothing happens until somebody sells something. So keep that in mind, guys. It is extremely important that you guys do this, right? So be confident even when you're the most desperate. Perfect. I'm going to talk about the last point. This is very easy, all right? I haven't said hi to anybody. I've been so caught up in this. And I forgot to do a couple of things. One thing is I need to remind everybody who I am and who we are here and what we do. My name is Jader Salazar. This is Black Label Closers. We have events every Tuesday and Thursday that you can just come and show up. You have to sign up for it. Just show up, right? Every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, we have a community on the platform school.com. You go there, you sign up, look for Black Label Closers, get inside the community. We're going to start having a lot of conversations, getting more active in there. And we also have a free course that will give you basis for you guys to start um, implementing some of those strategies if you are becoming a salesperson. So sign up and show up to this webinar. They're no cost. You can just show up, and we're going to talk about various points that can help you guys maneuver through some of the strategies that can help you maneuver through different types of scenarios. All right. So be here every Tuesday and Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, guys. All right. So the last one is fake decision makers. A lot of setters are closers as well. So this is what I call set and close, intra-close, right? We call when you're setting your own deals to close your own deals, you're an intra-closer, right? If you're setting for somebody else, you're a setter, and you're closing for somebody else, you're a closer. Um, if you're a setter or you're setting your own deals, you're going to find people that will. One of the rules that we have in sales is never ever go. And you have no idea how many companies I've walked in to train, and I've seen salespeople on the phone um, setting up a second appointment so that the husband or the wife can go talk to their spouse and then come back by themselves for the possibility of closing a deal. Let me tell you what the chances of closing that deal is, the percentage. If you get 10 calls like that, I'd be surprised if you're closing 1%. Uh, no, let's 10%, which would be one person, right? I'd be very surprised if you're closing one person out of 10. Very surprised. I'd say probably the ratio is a lot less than that. All right. Um, but we have to establish who is a decision maker. And I'm going to say something that I want you guys to pay attention exactly. Be careful with misinterpreting what I'm saying right now. Right. Not every wife, every spouse of the person we're talking to is a decision maker. Not every one of them. Not to be confused with saying that wives or husbands that are not present on the call are not decision makers. I'm just saying not every one of them are. This is the reason why you have to ask different questions and throw the ball from different angles, right? So, for instance, who is a spouse who's not a decision maker? If I'm talking to someone who's a seasoned investor out there and he tells you, you know what, we don't really get into each other's investment decisions. We leave each other alone. I mean, she makes her money, I make my own money. We're two separate animals when it comes to investing to whatever it is that we want to I don't have to ask her. When someone says that and they have given you a history and background of them being totally autonomous to make decisions towards investments, leave them alone. All right. Ask him one more qualifying question. Say, okay, just want to make sure you just said you guys don't have to intervene in each other's decisions to invest. Let me ask you this question. So, if you were to make a $40,000 investment or 20,000 or $5,000 into any type of investment inside the program, do you have to talk to her? No, I don't. Boom, done. She's not a decision maker. Now, here's some of the signs where even the customer or the prospect will tell you that they don't have to have a decision maker or they don't have to have their wife there. Some of the signs that would tell you that they do have to have it. If they are 9 to 5ers, I've said this before, right? If they're working a job, it doesn't necessarily have to be 9 to 5, but they're working a regular job. Perhaps they have 2 jobs, right? And they have kids, and the wife also has a job, right? And he says, my wife does not have to be there for this call. You really have to the end. You got to be careful. In my opinion, 99%, if not 99.99% of the time, she has to be there. Right? I already talked to you guys about how to deal with that in another episode. But if someone comes up now, be careful. I also wanted to say this before I continue this. If you say to someone, "Are you married?" and they say no, right? Don't just brush it off. Oh, you have a business partner? I don't have a business partner. I don't have a wife or a husband, and brush it off. Okay, this guy's making decisions solo, right? Be careful. And I know this for a fact. It happened to me a long, long time ago. I said that. I asked the right qualifying questions. And I learned my lesson. I asked, "Are you married?" He said, "No." I said, "Do you have any business partners?" He said, "No." By the time we had to, I was going through the final call with him. He says, "I live with my baby's mother." And right there, it dawned on me, holy crap, he doesn't have a wife. He just lives with the mother of his baby. This is a wife, right? Lucky for me, the guy was able to make the decision right there, but I never, never made that mistake again. So be careful because they might have a fiance, they might share, they live with their um, boyfriend and girlfriend, and they make decisions together. Let's talk about fake decision makers. All right. Does anybody make decisions with you? You're not married to anybody else that is making this decision with you. Now, what's it? Let's qualify a decision maker first. A decision maker is one who is directly affected by any investment or any monetary moves inside the household. That's a decision maker or inside a business, right? Like a business partner. We're looking at this together. We're in business. We want to expand our company. That's a decision maker. Business partner's got to be there. But if someone says, well, no, look, my neighbor is a very smart person and he always or she always helps me make financial decisions. That's not a decision maker. Now, the problem is if the neighbor comes and they get on the phone, you're going to be asking such intimate questions that there is no way possible that this neighbor can feel those questions from the core of how the household feels those questions in this case, the person who's supposed to be on that call. If the neighbor, if she claims the neighbor has to be there to help her out, I automatically tell them because I know the neighbor is going to play hero. I know that for a fact. The neighbor is not going to condone ever on that investment. It doesn't matter. I mean, you think if somebody asked me, can you help me make this decision? And I get on the phone and somebody's asking for $20,000. It might sound great to me, but here's the problem. I'm not involved in this person's life as much as that person is. I might do the research. I might, to help them out a little bit. But at the end of the day, I don't know if this person is going to work it out. And if this person does not apply the, for whatever reason, the $20,000 never come back, I'm not going to take the blame for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say at best, I'm going to say, listen, John or Claudia or Samantha or whatever, I think the best thing is it sounds like a great offer. Let's talk about it, and then you can get back to you, right? That's the best scenario out of that scenario. Typically, they're going to be like, Stephanie, I think $20,000 is a little too much money for you. I mean, you got this mortgage, you live by yourself, you need to think about your retirement. In my opinion, you got to be more careful. I am going to go against it. So one way, attorneys are not investors. My attorney helps me make decisions. Who's your attorney? Is he an investor? He'll be great if we're talking about the law, but we're talking about business. He's not an investor. Is he an investor? Well, he's got a lot of money, but he's not an investor. He's your attorney. I'm not gonna go through a conversation with someone who has nothing to do with your future. I mean, your attorney-client relationship with that person can be dissolved in 2 weeks. What does he care if you make a lot of money or you don't make a lot of money, right? My accountant, your accountant is an accountant. He's not an investor. So don't ever settle for having a decision maker who's not a decision maker, guys. Protect yourselves, protect your time. At some point, even if someone really pushes for another classic one is my boyfriend, it's really smart, business guy, and he's he graduated in business administration and he can help me make this decision. My question is, do you live with him? And you guys have to make financial decisions together. No. I don't make decisions with my boyfriend. I just want, your boyfriend is not part of this. I'm not going to divulge information to your boyfriend if it's not going to be part of the program. I can't do that, right? He's not. Just please, guys, protect your time, because at the end of the day, if you're talking to a decision maker and a fake decision maker, the fake decision maker is going to screw yourself, your clothes, and you can't recover that time, right? So very important that you guys understand that. All right, another live, guys. I hope this information is of good use. I really want to thank Joey, Rosa for being here. Master Frenos, all right? Master Frenos, Alex, how are you? Sorry I didn't say hello before. In Mars Prada. Thank you very much, guys, for coming. See you here next week. I want to end this by reminding you of who we are. We are Black Label Closers. My name is Jaded Salazar. Events every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a free course. We have a free community on school that you guys can join. All right. Thank you very much for showing up. I'll see you next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, guys. Take care.